brings us to the 10-minute rule motion. Katie White.
10-minute rule motion.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to prohibit the practice of bottom trawling in marine protected areas in England and for connected purposes. It is a privilege to speak today on a topic that has cross-party support and builds on the excellent work being led by my colleagues, the ministers at DEFRA, to put nature on the road to recovery and address the climate crisis. This government and this parliament are the greenest of my lifetime, and I'm proud to be a member of a party with such a distinguished history of leading on environmental protection. This bill offers an opportunity for a fairer, greener future, and I'm grateful for support from colleagues across the House for the bill today. It's important to remember that protecting our oceans and marine protected areas is not only a Labour legacy, but a Yorkshire one. In 2009, my right honourable friend, the member for Leeds South, and then Environment Secretary, spearheaded the passage of the Marine and Coastal Access Act, a landmark act that established a network of marine protected areas to safeguard vital marine habitats, species and ecosystems. 15 years later, with a new Labour government in place, we have the opportunity to strengthen protections for these areas even further. Before I lay out my case to the House, I must address the obvious question: why is the MP for Leeds North West, a landlocked constituency in the heart of West Yorkshire, bringing forward a 10-minute rule bill to ban bottom trawling in our marine protected areas? It's a fair question. After all, up in Leeds, our closest encounters with marine life might be spotting a trout in the River Wharf or enjoying fish and chips on the drive back from Whitby. Yet the health of our seas is not just an issue for coastal constituencies. It is a national responsibility. The ecosystems in our waters play a crucial role in regulating the planet's climate, absorbing carbon dioxide and supporting biodiversity that impacts life far beyond our shores. From sheltered sea locks to wild open waters, from seaweed beds to deep water coral, the UK coasts and seas are extraordinary. They are home to an astonishing variety of wildlife, including dolphins, whales, sharks, seals, puffins and deep-sea coral reefs. They are also vital to our economy and communities, particularly our essential fishing industry, as well as our tourism, shipping and the growing renewable energy sector. As an island nation, we are never more than 70 miles away from the sea here in the UK. Whether it's pollution, habitat destruction or the impact of climate change, we Brits are deeply connected to our coastal heritage. And while our seas work hard for us, they face growing pressures, and bottom trawling is one of the most destructive practices of all. For members unfamiliar, destructive bottom trawling involves dragging heavy nets and metalwork across our seabed, destroying fragile ecosystems and habitats that take decades or even centuries to recover. As a fellow member so aptly put it to me, it's like ripping up an orchard to pick an apple. Just one or two trawls over an area can decimate the seabed for up to 5 years. And alarmingly, this is happening right now across our marine protected areas, zones specifically we've designated to safeguard and recover biodiversity. My bill builds on previous work to ban this practice. As it stands right now, only 5% of the UK's marine protected areas have a ban on this destructive practice. And my argument to members today in support of this bill is threefold. First, the British public overwhelmingly expects a ban. Second, our small fishing businesses are suffering without a ban. And third, it is crucial for the ongoing health of ecosystems within marine protected areas and the broader protection of the environment and the natural world in which we in Britain take great pride. First, the British public. Research from Oceana shows that this measure has significant public backing, with 8 in 10 UK adults in favour of banning destructive bottom trawling in marine protected areas. What's particularly striking is the level of misunderstanding around this issue. When surveyed, the vast majority, around 64%, mistakenly believe that such a ban is already in place. Many of the individuals I've spoken to within recent weeks share this same misconception, and frankly, it's no surprise. The term protected in marine protected areas naturally leads people to assume that harmful activities like destructive bottom trawling are prohibited. In reality, it's quite the opposite. These fragile ecosystems remain exposed to one of the most destructive forms of industrial fishing, which devastates habitats and wildlife. Secondly, I want to talk about our British fishermen and women, especially the small-scale fisheries that have been at the heart of our coastal communities for generations. Let's be clear, it's not our hard-working British fishermen who are dragging heavy nets across the seabed, destroying delicate ecosystems. The culprits are industrial-scale operations and super trawlers that prioritise profit over sustainability, leaving our own small-scale fishers to bear the brunt of their actions. This is David versus Goliath, a fight to protect the lifeblood of our coastal communities from the destructive might of industrial fishing giants. In 2023, just 10 fishing vessels over 20 metres in length were responsible for over a quarter of the destructive bottom trawling. None of these 10 vessels were from the UK. I won't pretend to be an expert on the fishing industry. However, Philp, a fisherman with decades of experience, puts it best. He describes how small-scale fishers are under a lot of pressure everywhere, but mostly from industrial fisheries. He says one of the things that impacts quite heavily on small-scale fishers is a highly degraded ecosystem, because many small fishers are only viable in a healthy, productive ecosystem. And Philp speaks for many in our fisheries who want stronger protections that ensure their livelihoods are not sacrificed for the short-term gain of large industrial operators. Protecting our 178 English marine protected areas from destructive bottom trawling is not only about safeguarding marine life, it's about securing a sustainable future for the communities who depend on our seas for their way of life. And lastly, and most importantly, we need to protect and restore our marine protected areas for both climate and nature. Bottom trawling isn't just destructive and emissions heavy, it reduces carbon sequestration. Our oceans are unsung climate heroes. A series of recent reports from WWF, RSPB and Wildlife Trust has found that the UK seabeds play a quiet yet crucial role in carbon sequestration, storing up to 13 million tonnes. That is nearly 3 times the amount captured by UK forests. This is not inevitable in England, and we don't need to imagine the positive impacts of this bill. We've already seen the benefits of banning bottom trawling in some of our marine protected areas. Take Lyme Bay on England's south coast. In 2008, a partial ban on destructive fishing practices was introduced. This was later expanded to 312 square kilometres, about 120 square miles, through overlapping conservation efforts. And the results have been quite extraordinary. The seabed has begun to recover, with coral reefs like pink sea fans regrowing, scallop numbers increasing, and species such as black bream returning to the area. Within just a decade, the number of species in the protected zone increased by nearly 40%, compared with a 5% decline outside. Local fishermen, such as Matt Toms, have witnessed these changes firsthand, and since destructive bottom trawling was banned, he's observed a lot more fish in the area, including black bream breeding in the bay once again. This is proof that protecting our marine ecosystems benefits not only the environment, but also the communities who rely on it. Lyme Bay is living evidence that with the right action, recovery is possible. And I think this and every other measure should be guided by the science. Sometimes people fail to act because they cannot see what is going on beneath the ocean. That's something that can't be said of our national hero, Sir David Attenborough. And I would like to thank him for his years of service to documenting our planet. I'm excited to hear that he is premiering a new film that draws attention to the damage that we have caused and the opportunities to humanity, in particular fishing communities, of well-managed and protected oceans. I'd also like to thank the Blue Marine Foundation, Oceana, WWF and many other activists across the country for their work on this. To close, as I have said previously, I came into politics from a background in climate and nature. I proudly campaigned for the Climate Change Act in 2008, a landmark act brought in by the last Labour government. It taught me from the outset of my career what could be achieved through a sustained, steadfast commitment to a cause. That act has succeeded because of its pragmatism and cross-party consensus. For this reason, I am proud of the cross-party nature of this bill and its co-signatories. I stand before you today to argue that the implementation of this bill is a matter of common sense. For the small fisheries of this country, for the wildlife in our marine protected areas, and for all of us who depend on a healthy planet. This bill is about real action on climate and nature, and I hope colleagues will join me in seizing this opportunity.
The question is that the Honourable Member have leave to bring in the bill. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare and bring in the bill?
Anna Geldard, Mr Toby Perkins, Miss Polly Billington, Alistair Strathern, Luke Murphy, Sarah Champion, Afra Brandreth, Mr Andrew Mitchell, Weira Hobhouse, Carly Denyer and myself, Madam Deputy.
Katie White.
Marine Protected Areas Bottom Trawling England Bill.
Second reading what day?
Friday the 20th of June.
Friday the 20th of June.